No matter where you end up traveling across the world of Warcraft, at some point you'll end up in conflict with another faction. As you level up, you might encounter anything from a simple clan of gnolls or trogs, to networks of criminals, the Undead Scourge, demons of the Burning Legion, or even other players in some cases. The world you explore is immersive and diverse, as I'm sure anyone who has played knows, and while most of the threats you face within it take some inspiration from common fantasy ideas, there is one that stands out in terms of originality. It just so happens this faction also has one of the best build-ups and reveals in the entire game, which culminates in a war over the fate of an entire continent. Today, we explore the rise of the Silithid, one of the most insidious and dangerous enemies in classic WoW. As always, thank you for the fun comments and support, and with all that being said, let's get right into it. Our journey today begins in the Barrens, a vast golden plain teeming with resilient life that is the central hub of the new horde. Orcs, trolls, and Tauren leaving their respective starting zones will soon find themselves at Camp Taraho or the Crossroads, hubs for adventure and work. The largest functional zone in classic WoW, horde players sometimes find themselves coming back here 10, 15, even 20 levels after starting here, since there is just so much to do across multiple level brackets. Around level 20, you might encounter Corrin at the Crossroads, a troll who is investigating an anomaly of sorts in the southern savannah. Strange insect creatures have been spotted building earthen mounds and increasing in number, and Corrin wants you to collect egg samples from the area to get a better idea of what you're dealing with. We know little of the creatures, so I be making it a point to discover more. They seem to have intelligence to them, more so than any normal animal. Heading south along the Gold Road, the valley opens up a bit to reveal the Field of Giants, so named for the large craggy insect mounds that dominate the area. Warriors might also visit here around the same level to gather some antennae from the strange bugs for a time trial quest. Approaching the strange towers, you'll find some wriggling grubs protected by strange, scorpion-like swarmers. These don't seem too different from the scorpids back in Durotar, but those weren't bright green, right? Something seems off. You start harvesting the eggs, but you'll face resistance from the protectors, small malformed crab-like insects. This isn't natural. Perhaps mimicry is at work to disguise their true origin? A theory to keep in mind for later. Returning to town with the eggs, Corrin appreciates your efforts, sending you on your way for the time being, but he'll have more work for you soon enough. There is one more detail to look out for in the Field of Giants, one more clue that starts to unmask the horror of these insects, the Harvester. Wandering the mounds and carrying out its duty, this rare bug is entirely alien, with 6 legs and sharp mandibles. If you manage to find it and take it down, you can bring its head to Jorn Skyseer, an experienced hunter up at Camp Taraho, but even he isn't sure of what to make of it. I can tell nothing of the nature of this beast, for its spirit has fled, but as you guessed, it does not belong in the Barrens. I fear it may herald a grim future for our people. But for now, prepare yourself, and let us hope that time unravels the mystery of this creature. It seems we now have more questions than answers. This isn't the last we'll see of these strange bugs, and you're going to want to be prepared for anything as you continue on your leveling journey. As I said, it's hard to escape the Barrens as a horde player, but luckily, there's someone you'll want to visit with again once you've gained some more experience. Near level 30, Corrin has another mission for you. The insects from the south are much more of a threat than he first realized, and he wants you to report to his boss back in Orgrimmar. Belgrom Rockmaul, a seasoned warrior and coordinator of many adventures, isn't surprised at the news coming from the Crossroads, as another of his crews ran into something similar. A few days ago, a hunter returned to me from Thousand Needles nearly dead. He was with a raiding party sent to drive a dwarven excavation team out of the Shimmering Flats. During the attack, more of these insects erupted from a cave in the dig site and nearly killed the party. They were led by Mokhtar Kreen, and they've taken refuge on the border of the Shimmering Flats. Bring him this note. A new revelation. These insects are not confined to the Field of Giants, and your investigation now leads farther south, into the canyons and flats of Thousand Needles. Eventually, you'll meet up with Mokhtar and his crew at the Ironstone camp, who are recuperating from the surprise attack by the bugs. Too weak for a counterattack, and now tasked with eradicating the invaders, Mokhtar sends you to eliminate whatever you find at the dig site. The excavation has been dug into the salt flats, revealing the signature green hues of Titan ruins, including a unique statue head on the eastern side, but what are more concerning are the insects, which we will soon know as the Silithid. No longer masquerading as scorpions or crabs, these pests are large, heavily armored, and fiercely defensive of their territory. Their infestation stems from a hive, an organic tunnel of flesh and chitin that winds below the dried-up lake bed. The time for scouting is over. Now it's time for extermination. Clearing out the bugs, you might also pick up a cracked Silithid carapace, which reminds you to sample some more bug parts for research purposes. Before returning to base, one might stop to consider why there are Titan ruins here, and why the Silithid might have picked this spot for a hive. As I've explained in some of my previous work, it's possible this was once an aquatic observatory for the Titans and their servants, much like the ones we see later in Sholazar Basin and elsewhere in Azeroth. As for the insectoid presence here, the bugs may prefer to infest the subterranean structures here, if they still exist, to help harbor their colonies or speed up underground travel. Like before, you might consider hunting down the Ravager rare spawn that can be found here, and this one drops a unique blade called the Silithid Ripper that melee players might find useful. After reporting back to Mokhtar, you deliver the insect parts back to Khorne, then report once more to Belgrom and Orgrimmar. I'm appreciative of your efforts. The War Chief will enjoy hearing how tenacious you've been in your duties. Go now, I have much to do, and if you speak to Khorne soon, and he has news of these creatures, then return to me. I would think they are a threat that must be taken seriously. This wraps up the second part of our saga almost perfectly, and I say almost because we actually never end up questing with Khorne again, and Belgrom doesn't deal with the Silithid in the future. The axe reward from this quest is also eerily similar to the Ripper blade from just a moment ago, which is a strange coincidence, but I digress. Again, the true nature of the Silithid remains unknown, but remaining vigilant and keeping track of all that has transpired will aid you as you travel deeper into southern Kalimdor. The Horde are not the only ones to have encounters with the Silithid. Off the forgotten coast of Feralas, Feathermoon's stronghold is an alliance bastion of Night Elven power and exploration in a land lost to time. Here, a small expedition seeks to map this territory and recover highborn artifacts from over 10,000 years ago. Recently though, a courier who departed for the outpost of Thalanar has disappeared, and it's up to you to find out where he went. After finding a wrecked rowboat on the mainland and tracing a knife found at the scene, you'll eventually find yourself on the Woodpaw Hills, where a particularly vicious tribe of gnolls has taken up camp. Searching near one of their campfires, 2 large leather backpacks catch your attention. Inside the backpacks are 2 items. The first is a parcel of goods that was bound for Thalanar, and the second is a note hastily penned to an unknown reader. The note tells of discovering insidious bug-like creatures south of the Gnoll camp in a place called the Writhing Deep. The author felt the need to investigate it personally, as though it was a serious threat to all of Feralas. The note is signed, Rishal of Feathermoon. It seems as though Feralas has not been exempt from the corruption of the hives, and traveling south reveals the sheer extent of the damage. The growth here is substantial, not just a hole in the ground, but a sickly environment of slippery organic surfaces and twitching limbs. This is the largest we've come across on our journey, and perhaps the first one you've really dealt with as an Alliance player. Slowly fighting your way into the hive, the Zukosh Silithid are relentless, and now might be a good time to notice the bugs actually don't have a creature type. They're so alien, they don't even count as beasts. In a small recess in the back of the hive, you find a Zukosh pod, and cracking it open reveals none other than Rishal, who is able to escape and return to Feathermoon thanks to you. It is unknown whether the Silithid were keeping him around to interrogate him, or perhaps corrupt him into a brainwashed minion, but either way, he's thankful to be free. Before returning yourself, you might also consider taking the undelivered parcel you found earlier to Thalanar, where you can hitch a quick ride back to the western coast. After hearing from both you and Rishal, Chandra's Feathermoon sends you north to Darnassus, where the report on the Zukosh Hive is to be delivered. The flight path can be a long one, so in the meantime, let's get caught up on the Horde side of the story. Camp Moache in the east is past the edge of civilization, a small village built near a waterfall in the heart of the jungle. Hadoken Swiftstrider, one of the local leaders, is waging a war against the Woodpaw Gnolls, whose attacks have been growing bolder as of late. After taking out some of the mongrels to the north and south of town, Along with the alphas of the pack, Hadoken is sure there's still something more going on that's whipping the gnolls into a frenzy. Returning to the camps, you locate a set of cryptic gnoll battle plans. Numerous arrows that perhaps represent troop movements are drawn on the map, though most seem to be headed toward the south rather than to the north where Camp Moache lies. Another section of the map has a picture of what you think is a large insect of some kind, with various tick marks under it. From the looks of the gnolls, it perhaps represents their losses against the unknown bugs. Of course, Horde players who have played through the previous 2 chapters already know what's coming, and scouts from the village are soon to report the truth of the Writhing Deep Hive, a targeted strike into the nest to gather some samples and slay their leader, Sting Lasher, is your next objective. The Zukosh are thinned, and you might even find the rare white wasp, Kirot, as you explore the labyrinth that is the Hive. After crippling the bugs and indirectly also mitigating the gnoll threat, it's time for a trip to Orgrimmar, where Zilzabine Drumlore has taken over the Silithid case. Back on the Alliance side, the priestess Gracina Spiritmight is your destination for such matters, and both of them deliver similar bits of exposition, revealing the true severity of what's going on with the Hives. We Night Elves know of the terror outlined in this report. These creatures will consume Feralas rapidly. They are nothing short of one of the greatest menaces on Azeroth. The insects you and the courier encountered are known as the Silithid. They are mere tools of one of the greatest threats that both the Horde and Alliance will ever face. I pray we will have the resolve to defeat them before they destroy us. At level 45, you're now around 3/4 done with the leveling journey, and the rise of the Silithid is growing even more real. Hives infecting multiple zones, word that the insects are but pawns of a greater evil, that's a lot to unpack, and the conflict is just going to keep escalating from here. Starting up once more with the most unlikely creatures, the Goblins of Gadgetzan, who are about to stumble into another piece of this grand conflict. Water is worth more than gold in the desert, so much so that nomads and bandits have been commandeering the wells of the Gadgetzan Water Company, controlling the essence of survival in the harsh land of Tanaris. The goblins are looking for help dealing with these invaders and searching for new, untapped water sources, and right after arriving from Feralas, adventurers of both the Alliance and the Horde can offer their services in this neutral town. As your war against the Wastewander bandits is going on, Senior Surveyor Fizzledowser sends you out west, to a small inconspicuous pool near Sandsara Watch, hoping to establish a new well. Upon inspection, however, a pair of Silithid burst through the crust, revealing the threat has spread even to this inhospitable place. The next area to check are the shallow pools on the western edge of the zone, near the border of the lush Ungoro crater, but the reports reaching Gadgetzan paint a grim picture. Going out there yourself to learn more, you find the pools are entirely gone, replaced with foul Silithid growth and sickly tentacles that rise above the sand, not to mention a new swarm of centipar insects to deal with. It seems the Silithid also have an interest in stealing the water from the surface for their own colonies, perhaps trapping it in vast underground reservoirs to nourish their army. Another unsuccessful mission, though you do collect some insect parts for the local alchemist to analyze. Good work, I'll start my analysis on these now. I can tell you right from the start though, these are nothing like any insect form I have ever seen. It's almost as if these bugs are being controlled by an outside force or something. Back with the surveying crew, things have taken another turn for the worse. One of Fizzledowser's top assistants has gone missing after searching for water in the southeast, at an area called the Gaping Chasm. It's not clear what this place originally was, maybe another type of oasis or sinkhole or spring, but it too has succumbed to the Silithid threat. Deep within one of these new tunnels, a set of ooze-covered surveying gear is recovered. I think we can probably guess what happened to the assistant. With the bugs now controlling both of the major freshwater sources in the region, the goblins redouble their efforts to beat back the desert nomads and retake the wells. Meanwhile, the insect part analysis has yielded some results. Our initial suspicion that the bugs are being controlled by an outside force we believe is correct. If this is the case, then we are dealing with not only a very powerful unknown force, but also a malignant one. These bugs have been changed to be pure ravagers. This quote supports my theory from earlier that the Silithid are highly adaptive, with many different types of bugs filling specialized roles within the hive, perhaps even mimicry when the insects or their masters do not wish to reveal themselves. the goblins decide to send you back to your faction capital and report on your findings in Tanaris. This step is almost identical to the final step in Feralas, and with the two adventures happening so close in level, it's possible these two storylines were designed to happen concurrently with one another. Your contacts don't provide any new information, but if you've hit level 50, the next part of the story will become available. It's time to descend into the crater. With more reports coming in about the spread of the hives in southern Kalimdor, Greta and Zilzabine both predict the source of the corruption may be deeper in the wilds, in the untamed jungles of Ungoro Crater. Returning to Gadgetzan, the goblins help establish a plan of action, baiting out the queen to throw the Ungoro hive into chaos. As you continue on your travels and start questing inside the crater, you'll eventually uncover the Slithering Scar in the south, a relatively small Silithid hive, but one that is no less deadly. Well adapted to holding their own in a zone already filled with predatory wildlife, the Gorishi clan have sharp claws and are also equipped with poisonous glands. After crafting the bait, it's time for you to enter the hive and summon the queen. The arena is in the back of the hive, where an ominous attunement crystal lies exposed. After messing with it, the bugs go full rage mode, with wave after wave appearing to defend the hive. The queen arrives last, equipped with a nasty slowing poison that could very well mean the end of your adventure if you're not prepared. This is the ultimate bug-killing challenge for solo players, and once Pawn has captured Queen, you can take her brain back to the goblins for study. From what we have learned, we believe that these Silithid are quite possibly being controlled by a malign intelligence. I shudder to think what could control something as insidious as the Silithid. It will take some time for us to fully understand what we have here. We'll put it to good use though, don't you worry about that. As for the Silithid, I genuinely doubt this was the full extent of their presence. This is much too clean of a resolution, I'm sorry to say. This is in fact nowhere near the end of the story, but for now, you should feel pretty accomplished at raiding multiple hives and taking out the leadership of another. One more report is ready to be delivered back to Darnassus or Orgrimmar, urging the Alliance and Horde to act in response to this growing darkness. Fate seems to have other plans, however, and both contacts are having difficulty pushing through the levels of bureaucracy and strife already going on. While I genuinely appreciate this, I am not sure what good it will do us. The Alliance ignores threats from any source other than the Horde, and even our own leaders here in Darnassus cannot agree on what exactly this threat is. Fools like Fandral Staghelm theorize that the Silithid are nothing like the threat from the ancient past I claim them to be. His ignorance is only surpassed by his arrogance. You have seen the threat yourself, adventurer. We must remain committed to defeating the Silithid. I fear that my assumptions that the Silithid originated from Ungoro are now wrong. That, indeed, there is a far stronger presence somewhere. It seems now all we can do is wait and see what comes of this conflict. This bit of dialogue from the Alliance side also gives us more clues as to Archdruid Staghelm's true loyalties. He, along with many other Night Elves, were around the last time the Silithid invaded Kalimdor 1,000 years ago, and yet political corruption, missing records, and a lack of cohesion could all be contributing to why the Night Elves seem oblivious to the source. In vanilla WoW, this was as far as the story went for over a year following launch, but to finish off today's video, I want to offer a brief look at the culmination of this slow burn saga, and what players find themselves dealing with at the heart of the Silithid threat. A few months have passed since you last dealt with the insects, but more has been happening behind the scenes. The Cenarian Circle, a bipartisan group of druids and warriors, have been reading your reports and gathering intel from across Kalimdor, and what they have pieced together is truly shocking. Far to the west of Tanaris, farther even than the mythical Ungoro, is a wasteland forgotten for nearly a millennia, a land of infestation and old magic, Silithus. Emissaries of the Circle now call for aid within the capital cities, searching for anyone willing to devote themselves to a full invasion of the Silithid's homeland, which hides the ruins of an ancient vault, where even darker things now stir. The Silithid and their allies have risen to plague Azeroth once more, and there are many more things to unpack in the future. The mighty combined war effort of the Alliance and Horde, rumors of an ancient scepter lost to time, and secrets so ancient they've been removed from the game entirely, or were never fully realized at all. But those are tales for another day. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive exploring all the hints and discoveries paving the way to Silithus and beyond, And until next time, may the Force be with you.